Everybody, welcome to Market Pros. My guest today is Kyle. How you doing today, Kyle?
Pretty good. How's it going?
Good, good. So real quick, can I get a rundown of your experience in the markets, crypto, and NFTs as a whole?
Yeah, sure. Let's see. It all kind of starts back in 2013. Me and a buddy heard about Bitcoin, and we started putzing around with mining and stuff. And kind of just it was like more of a hobby than anything. We had like a milk crate with GPU sticking out of it. It was looking all wild and stuff. Um, Played around with that for a little bit, kind of died off. Came back in 2017, where it became more of the investment side of things, um, and really starting to do research into projects. Always into Bitcoin. Got into like Litecoin and the whole ASIC versus GPU stuff, and um, ultimately found myself in Cardano, where I am a I created and maintained the .NET serialization library for Cardano for .NET developers, which I am a .NET developer. From there, went through their whole funding process, got funded from their treasury stuff, um, and yeah, so it kind of started as a hobby, definitely became more like speculative investment type stuff, and kind of fell into trying to mix my two worlds as a developer in crypto, which has been very interesting. It's definitely led me down some interesting paths. That being said, probably since 2013, even earlier, always been into investing. So back in the day, I used to do a lot of like option trading, momentum style stuff. But yeah, so just kind of all over the board, whether it's development, investing, whatever it is. So.
Gotcha. So when did you take an interest in NFTs?
Yeah, that probably is more seriously been taking it more hands on, probably more recently than anything. I've always kind of watched projects like Engine and stuff like that, where they're trying to bring the gaming world into the NFT space, which totally when it comes to NFTs, I think gaming is probably one of the number one industries out there that can take advantage of the type of benefits that NFT brings to the table. Things like that and music. So any type of digital stuff. I know it seems interesting, turn digital into digital, but I think as a developer myself, you kind of see these centralized systems, and blockchain and Web3 type stuff can bridge those systems. So as something as simple as playing Rocket League, getting a skin, and then let's say you don't play that game, it's wasted money, it just sits there, has no value now. So
Yeah,
stuff like that, I can see the benefit. So.
gotcha. So what are your long-term perspectives on crypto? Like where do you think it's going in the next 5 to 10 years as a whole?
Gotcha. Okay, I'll definitely give you what I hope what it does. So uh, I think eventually people will deal with crypto in some form or fashion. Um, Especially in video games, whether they realize it or not. I work with a lot of game developers in the Cardano space. With .NET, I have a bridge to Unity. So .NET is C Sharp, which so is Unity. It's kind of one and the same. So I deal a lot with game developers in the Cardano space, and we're trying to figure out ways to create bridges and integrations that create frictionless experiences for the player. So we're really trying to dive in and figure out, what does it mean for a player to leverage blockchain, but not worry about being a crypto user and stuff like that. So I definitely think that will start to get a lot better, and we can utilize crypto, and I really mean more specifically blockchain in general. I think crypto, from a investment or currency standpoint, I think that'll be really good when it comes to settlements and stuff, like Bitcoin has always been. But you know, I think the real impact is how we can integrate in things that we do, or that we do every day. So whether it's gaming or some type of entertainment, I think those are places for real impact. Even in my more professional life. I am a technology director for an e-commerce startup. So, I have conversations all the time with my clients and internally about like how we can leverage this type of technology. There's something to be said for the Web3 space. I know there's a lot of talk about like what that really means and how even in that world you can see centralization points, but there are big advantages when it comes to taking data out of a company's hands, and sometimes it's even beneficial for the company to do that. So you know in the e-commerce space, a lot of times companies, all we do is somehow or another centralize people's product and order data. So if we can make that more shareable, right, where it's more we don't have to trust somebody, but we can take advantage of like blockchain. We can start sharing information that ultimately we're sharing anyway. We don't have problems with sharing this type of stuff. So it's like if we were able to like use blockchain, things like inventory and making sure that like you see what people actually have on hand. A lot of times it's kind of faked, and we kind of just deal with it on the back end. But if I'm able to place orders and update in people's inventory, as fast as blockchain even can do it, a lot of times that could probably beat what a lot of us are doing. Since really we're just syncing both ways and keeping snapshots of the data and various centralized databases, you know that could, even stuff like that, I mean, that would be great. So I definitely see a lot of advantages, and I see not just the public space, right? You think of Bitcoin and Ethereum, these public blockchains, but even private blockchains, leveraging things that are coming out of like IBM. So like Hyperledger, like these are really good systems that we can build upon. So yeah.
What do you what do you think of all the regulations surrounding it and how they are trying to really, tax it and just regulate the hell out of it? I mean, where do you think we're going to go with all that on our back?
Yeah, that's definitely like a little internal conflict. Always, I can argue against myself. It almost seems like, depending on the stance I want to take. Do I have that more libertarian viewpoint, or the entrepreneur viewpoint, or you know, even just like back in the day when I was trading options, that type of stuff. It's like depending on your position and how you really are leveraging crypto, you can find yourself, in these predicaments where, you know, I can think from, a traditional trader, right? It's like, well, I mean, I pay taxes on trades I did back then. So it's like I understand, but then you start, even in Forex, so I used to do a lot of Forex trading. So, which I think was a natural progression for me to get into crypto. I was like, oh, yay, more currencies for me to, you know, trade, and I have a bigger like time frame, 24/7 versus 24/5 type stuff. So um yeah, it's that's just like a really interesting conversation. I feel like I could debate that all day long from many perspectives. um that being said, I'm more investment, more long term. So I guess my tax burden has yet to come to fruition. Was more or less just buying and holding. I even run a stake pool, so that might be like the biggest impact on taxes right now for me, for the Cardano space. But I mean, other than that, it's I guess for me, I haven't really had to face the music. So that day will come.
Yeah, yeah, it will. Actually, tax season's coming up for
Yeah,
last year. Yeah, but what can you do? I mean, you have to pay your taxes. Uh, so hopefully there are some politicians that see the value and see the potential in it, and they don't let them tax it to death. Now
yeah,
I don't think crypto will ever die, but
no,
I could see them making it hard for ordinary people to become wealthy using crypto as a product,
yeah,
as a vehicle. Um, and Yeah, I mean, taxes, it is what it is. Like I said, I'm a trader as well, so you know, I have a lot of different
yeah,
kinds of taxes, because I'm also an entrepreneur. I have two businesses and I'm a trader. and they're all different kinds of businesses. So my taxes are kind of complicated, but I do use crypto tax software, Crypto Trader Tax. They are not sponsoring this video, by the way. And yeah, I have a good accountant, so it's it's complicated at first and it can seem overwhelming, but
Yeah,
after the first year of you doing your crypto and your capital gains, tax loss harvesting, all that, the next year, there's a lot of weight lifted off of you. It's not that difficult at all.
I agree.
Yeah, taxes
Yeah,
can be scary, especially because you'll get in trouble if you mess it up. At
yeah. I
least
think
it,
that's a lot of it, right?
yeah.
Is the unknown, right? It's
Mhm.
like I think once you get in the world of like I think for me it was like starting a business, right? Like there's a ton of stuff that comes along with that. Taxes just being one of those, and I think it's more or less it's so sensitive, right? You can get it wrong, and there can be consequences for that. So I think once you get in the role, right, that you understand like what you're starting to do with your taxes, um, one, it gets easier year to year. I think. Not to mention, you have your routines. You know what the things you should even do, like even in your trading, right? Like you don't just look at your trade and say like, is this the right time to get out? Like you can actually take um, other factors right into your trading. So it can even influence the style of trading you do, right? Are you a swing trader, or do you
Mhm.
become more a position trader, stuff like this, like get that short term versus long term viewpoints?
Yeah.
Um, and not to mention, like once you really get past that, you start trying to refine your taxes and like how you hold your money and stuff. So you can even set up other businesses or trusts to help protect yourself. One of the best advice I've ever heard when I first started out was never have anything in your name. Like you should always be protected by something. Have a wall. Always have a wall in front of you. So even when you start talking about trading and stuff, like, even if it's just you, open up like a LLC, right? If you can, protect yourself in any way you can. Because the last thing you want is the IRS coming after your personal belongings.
Exactly.
So if you can put up a wall, keep that wall clean, uh, I think that's one of the best ways to protect yourself. So,
Which uh which markets are, the most appealing to you? Whether it be
oh man,
commodities, crypto, options, stocks, DeFi, NFTs, Metaverse,
yeah.
which market or markets is the most appealing to you and why?
Yeah, I think like a trading standpoint, it's always been options because there's such a wide variety of approaches. Really, there's not to mention I feel like it's a lot more calculated, like the type of risk you can take. Like if you really know how to position your option trades, right, you can protect yourself a lot easier, right? Like
Hedge.
one of the yeah, you can definitely get that edge. You understand expirations. You can you're not just buying one option, right? Like you more or less just buy the strategy, and you can protect yourself if it goes against you. Always, especially with options, right? Because especially if you're one to buy your puts or sell, especially if you're selling options. Those are. I think that was always very intriguing to me because it's like I could go on a 2 day option trade with S&P, not a lot of money, but easy money the way I saw it. Or I could my day to day was just momentum trading. Hold it for a few hours, maybe a few days, depending on the company or what was going on. Um, so I think like short term, that's where my head's always been, just because it just always has made sense to me. Long term wise, it kind of goes back to what I was saying when it comes to crypto. DeFi, I think is good, especially in if you have a lot of crypto, right? You can lend it out, you can yield farm, you can take advantage of those type of mechanics. Um, but for me, being a gamer, growing up all my whole life and understanding crypto the way I do, I see things like NFTs in that space very appealing. So, you know, I look at the metaverse as exciting, but also an opportunity to grow and start new businesses. So I don't think, if you're just a gamer and you just want to game and you want to, make some money on the side, it's great. I view it more as a way for another passive income. Passive in a more of an air quotes passive. A lot of NFTs I think will legit like could be, depending on the game or what you're really trying to accomplish. Like, I mean, you could just have your primary, gig, you know, operating NFTs in the metaverse. So
Playing
that type of
games.
stuff is very, yeah. I mean, what gamer doesn't think that's appealing, right? I mean, I remember when D3 came out with the real money auction house. Like me and my friends were like pumped. This is great. We can, I don't know, buy a pizza from finding some random like loot. But I think like with the type of tokenomics that you're starting to see from some of these game companies or studios, it's nice to see people take it seriously and understand the type of economic impact they could be having. You know, um, probably more realistically, not so much like in the U.S., but like some of like Africa and Asia and stuff like this. I see the type of games and the type of money that can be generated being real impactful. So and um, that's probably the most appealing, like long term for me. So for me right now, it's a lot of research and trying to ultimately place your bets, right? Like because I mean that right now it's really what it is. And I think realistically, right, as a gamer, you 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 kind of accept that in reality, like games don't take months or even a year to make; they take multiple years. So
Yeah.
um, now that you got to take that with a grain of salt. I mean, Star Citizen is a great example of that. They've been promising a game for probably about a decade now. Um, so
Wow.
it's like stuff like that. You can get caught up in the hype of what they're selling you. Um, but yeah, so I think like long term, I'm looking at gaming NFTs, entertainment NFTs, stuff like that. I know me and my partners in the e-commerce world will entertain what it means to operate blockchain in the e-commerce world as well. So,
Yeah, I definitely see a lot. I mean, like infinite amount of potential in metaverse. Not just, I mean, of course gaming, but I mean there's like, e-commerce, meetings within a company. I mean, there's infinite possibilities within a metaverse. And I think there's also a lot of companies and entrepreneurs that are also seeing that potential. Some are scrambling to get in, like Facebook, changing their
mhm.
name to Meta, trying to build that Meta. You know what I mean? Like they thought they were going to like spearhead it, but they're behind,
Oh yeah,
So yeah,
yeah,
and scrambling. I mean, change their name and really haven't made any headway, you know.
yeah, no,
So
yeah, yeah.
yeah, and
It's funny you mentioned like having business meetings because like me and a few of my colleagues, like depending on the type of meeting we're having, it's just like, man, let's just throw on the VR headset, go play some golf, and
wow,
shoot the shit, and
yeah,
just yeah. I mean, like, just, I mean, as long as there's nothing concrete we need to review or something, it's just like a conversation. It's like, all right, you know, why sit here and stare at each other when it's like,
go play
it's much
golf.
more entertaining. Yeah, I mean, people are more engaged. It's, just morale wise. I mean, it's a lot easier to pop on a headset and have some fun than it is to like sit here on a Zoom call and just like discuss stuff and then get back to work. So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, it's go ahead. Yeah.
Oh no, I was just saying there's a lot of older people that are very against the metaverse because they think it's just going to brainwash people and they're never going to go outside. Now that could happen, but you kind of got to use the technology. Don't let the technology use you. you know
Yeah.
but but to be able to do whatever you want from home, because sometimes somebody might not have the money to go on, go play golf or whatever. You know what I mean? They might not
Hmm.
have the means to go play golf. Somebody in a third world country, whatever. And back to there being a lot of benefit from the metaverse, especially in third world countries. There's people, like, I know specific people that are making a full-time income from NFTs, from gaming, and they're putting food on the table with that. So I mean, the benefits are worldwide,
Yeah.
and it's going to change a lot of people's lives for the better. So, what are your what are your plans for the future? In an entrepreneurial aspect, crypto markets, trading. What are your plans specifically for the future?
Yeah. So I think I just always looking for those opportunities, right? Like just kind of always staying on, up to date on what's going on. What other companies are doing, who's trying to do what, especially in the NFT world. Um, and even from development standpoint, it's as an entrepreneur trying to always get an edge right in my own industry. Having those skill sets, that's those. I think they're going to be valuable, and especially in the next 10 to 20 years. Somebody understanding like how blockchain works. Because I mean, I'm seeing it a lot more as a developer. People are trying to whether they want to take advantage of crypto, right, in the sense of like, oh, well, let's accept Bitcoin or whatever as a payment to, how about we start entertaining smart contracts to, hey, let's run our own chain with Hyperledger, stuff like this. So, I think blockchain is very interesting. I don't personally, just mainly just from my own experience and where I am, I guess living my own life. It's just you see blockchain as like the disruptor. Web3. I think people will start hearing this a lot more. I think that's the thing to really focus on. I think cryptocurrencies is great. And especially when you really start walking down the line of DeFi with smart contracts and stuff like this. I think that's where it's evolving. There's a reason, right? It's evolving that way, and we're moving that way. Um, but as for blockchain, I think you're going to start seeing a lot more companies like leverage more niche or even internal chains for whatever reason. Um, so for me, it's more or less keeping that skill up to date, making sure that I can, So I'm 33 now. I'm kind of in the peak of my career, and the one thing I'm looking for is like as in 20 years where I'm not really that problem solver, but more or less is that voice of reason for a company. I need to make sure that I understand the technologies that are in front of us and make those wise decisions. Even as of where I am right now, that's the type of role that is the most valuable. Make sure you don't get distracted by the shiny new toy, but also,
Right.
that you are trying to solve the problem correctly. Um, from the more of the investor style of things, it's probably going to be a lot of gaming type stuff. 'Cause I mean, it's just appealing. I mean, as a gamer
Yeah.
growing up, I mean, how is it not,
Right.
you know, appealing to say like I can make money playing video games? Like that's awesome. And I have kids, so it's just like, all right, cool, you can help me. Go cut down some
Yeah.
trees.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, and now it's instead of pay to play, it's play to earn. I mean, completely different. Oh, I think it's going to make it a lot of new gamers. You know what I mean? Like now that they know,
100%.
I mean, even me, like I haven't been a gamer in 6, 8 years. You know what I mean? Because, I've been so busy, trying to build wealth and, build businesses, stuff like that. And, but now that I see the potential of the returns and I wanted to play games, you know what I mean? But I was so busy with other stuff trying to build wealth, I couldn't let myself do it, So I cut myself
Yes.
off of that fund, but
Hmm.
now I can incorporate that into my life and it's like a side gig, you know what I mean? And some people are going to make
Yep.
a full-time living over this. 100%.
Absolutely.
I mean, I know people that have made millions in, say, Axie Infinity or the Sandbox, you know, and changed their life with that and
Yeah.
started with a very small amount and just the just the idea, just the idea and the belief. That's the word I'm looking for. The belief of the potential in it. You know what I mean? They foresaw what was coming with the metaverse and all
Hmm.
that, and they got in early. And obviously they were handsomely rewarded for that. So
Yeah, and I mean, even if you look at a more traditional market like the gig economy, right? Like, I mean, the way technology is moving, it's very hard to argue. And a lot of people in my industry have this, whenever we get into like weird political conversations, a lot of times I hear a very common narrative start to play out, and it's like with technology moving the way it is, can people really expect us to really like how do you measure a company or country's wealth based on job growth when technology only tries to to eliminate jobs? I mean,
mhm,
that's the whole point of programming anything, is that I'm trying to automate something. I'm trying to remove steps in a process. And a lot of times those steps used to be people. So when you start looking at, pandemic, bounce backs and stuff, and it's like, well, the way the workers aren't there, and it's like,
right.
you start talking about gig economies and how people would rather just, work when they want to type of thing. It's like, well, what if you start making the ability to have fun and make money? It's like, how disruptive can that really
Yeah.
be, right? Like, I mean, who would want to go bag groceries when I can go make more money, roaming around some fantasy world, kind of ignoring my problems while making
Yeah.
money?
Yeah.
So, I mean, the fight is a little bit of a losing battle against this. So, I just to me, it just makes so much sense. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Definitely. Um, all right, so it's time to bring up some bad memories.
Oh
What
god.
biggest mistakes? Well, biggest mistakes in
Yeah,
crypto, the markets, whether it's you lost a bunch of money or missed an opportunity, biggest mistakes.
I think a really common one, at least when I first started out trading, was not trusting the system. Right? If you're a trader, you come up with strategies, come up with systems for a reason. And then you start getting those emotions involved. You're like, oh man, quick, get out, or oh no, it doesn't look good. I know the
Emotions are
indicators
bad.
say it, but it's like, yeah, no, just do it.
Yeah.
That's definitely a good one. Trading in the Zone, really good book
Yeah, I've
for
read.
emotion stuff.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
I've
a
read
good
it.
one.
Yeah, emotions will get you
Um,
into trouble. Yeah, you
Absolutely.
have to take them
Absolutely.
completely out.
I've lost out on a lot of opportunities because of that. Um, okay, here's a really good example. This one, my wife likes to bring it from time to time. Back in 2013, when I was mining Bitcoin, this is around the same time that Overstock started accepting Bitcoin as payment. Um, and ultimately, I don't know what it was. I'd have to go back and talk to that 2013 Kyle to understand what the reasoning was behind this. But I decided to buy a mattress for 1.5 Bitcoin. Um, Very expensive mattress.
Yeah, I'd say.
Um, yeah, so that was definitely a mistake. So, I mean, don't get me wrong. I think a lot of the appeal was like, I can use a peer-to-peer network to transfer something, and somebody would give me a physical good for.
Yeah.
Um, so it was. I mean, that was back in the day when Bitcoin was about $1,000. So, um, but yeah, that was. I would definitely not do that again. But
Do you, do, do you still have the mattress?
no, no, no. That mattress has been. Yeah, it was a very hard day to throw that mattress away,
I
knowing
bet.
uh, what
I
I had to
bet.
give up for it. So,
60 grand mattress. About,
ooh, yeah,
you know. Um,
that's a rough one.
so uh kind of what you touched on, going back, to that new investor, that brand new Kyle in crypto, what advice would you give to yourself, or what advice would you give to somebody that's day one, just got into crypto, just took that leap, that risk? What would you tell them?
Take it slow. No matter, I think there's a big appeal in not just the crypto world but the trading world that you're going to make money fast. Um, I found that long term investments, are actually the bigger payouts. And it's not always because of like the trade itself, but if you take into consideration a lot of what we were talking at the beginning is like taxes. You know, there's a reason why people talk about short-term versus long-term capital gains. It's a big difference,
Yeah,
especially if you are, um, like more specific for me, being in a tech industry and trading on the side. Um, you know, you can if you're doing short term trading, it can actually hurt you a little bit more than you might think, because you don't really take your salary into perspective. When the IRS looks at you, they don't look at you like, oh, well, that's your salary, and then that's your trading. Well, stuff. No, it's like put it all in the pot. How much money did you make?
yeah,
Okay, here's your tax rate. Um, so I think the best thing to do is to just relax. Come up with balanced strategies. If you could find a mentor, find a mentor. I think that's a really good thing. I found people who definitely had a lot more experience than I did, and I was able to learn a lot of things, probably faster than I would have. Um, but yeah, I guess I'm more of a think for tomorrow, don't think for today. You'll definitely come out a lot better if you do, at least from my own experience. So. So one more thing, regarding um, like long term versus short term. I think one thing that I realized was, it's that short term trading that where my emotions they hit harder, right? When I started taking more positional, more long term, viewpoints or positions, that's when like the emotions didn't really affect me that much. It was a lot easier to stick to the strategy, um, compared to like my short term stuff. So, it's like, one of my best months options trading was when I tripled my account. It was just went from, X to Z, and it was like, holy crap, that's amazing. And unfortunately, the pandemic hit. And
yeah.
that was, I think the one thing there is, what works today has no promise
Might
of
not.
working tomorrow.
Might, yeah.
So, yeah, when, the Fed came out, they essentially just started printing money, feeding into markets, and things where you look at, you're like, well, the pandemic's going to probably do this to the market, and probably should have. Probably should have done a lot more damage than it did. Um, but you start seeing markets. Sorry, my cat's like
No, it's
in the
okay.
way there. Um, the Fed starts doing their thing, and markets are hitting like all time highs and stuff. And like my brain couldn't, I just couldn't wrap my head around like what was going on and why that started. Like it's just like we should be looking more at either sideways or like a downtrend, but we're not. We're still having booms.
Right.
But it was like super volatile. So like a lot of my momentum strategies like couldn't handle that type of. I can't remember the indicator. It's like there's like a there's a good indicator for options, and I can't remember, but it's basically how volatile the market is, right?
BBWP.
And that's it's something like that. I remember. I want to call it like the V index or something like that. V20 or I don't know.
The
I'd have to look it
VIX.
up. But
The
VIX.
VIX.
Thank you, VIX. So yeah, the VIX basically, you know, it just was. It was way higher than I was ever expecting it to be. For that type of market. So yeah, ultimately my strategy kind of just fell apart. And the next month it was almost like it was just like. Luckily, I had I had I had certain things in place that would stop me from trading if I lost a certain amount of money. So I probably would have gave back any earnings I had the previous month straight back to the market based on my own feelings, right? And that's where a lot of it came into you know all that trouble. So I think that's what really got me into more focusing on like the NFTs and what is the longer term plays here than worrying about how much money can I make today, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, that's actually one of the things that I do. You was talking about mentoring. I actually have classes, and it helps people when they first, when they first get into the markets, because I taught at myself everything. So there was a huge learning curve and, a lot of stagnation there for a while at the beginning. I mean, it takes a while to really get a grasp on the crypto market, investing as a whole,
Mm,
so I have classes, crypto classes, technical analysis classes, even advanced technical analysis classes where I teach people how to trade like the institutions. Um, and it shaves 6 months to a year of that self teaching off of people's lives. So, I mean, people get a lot of value out of that, you know? And
Absolutely.
yeah, and I mean, I'm passionate about it because if I had someone that could have taught me, I would have there I would have definitely seen the value in that 100% because that would have saved me a lot of pain and it would have got me a lot of gain, you know, early on,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. Oh man, early days of trading is
Brutal.
those yeah, oh man, yeah, brutal is a good word. It is very testing. It
Yeah,
definitely weeds out the people who aren't really going to take it seriously, or
that's right.
like I said, if you get into it because you think you're making a quick buck, uh, man, good luck. I hope you're one of those 1 in a trillion people who just
Yeah.
it clicks immediate for and you don't need the advice. Um,
Click a
because I
button
mean it
and
is.
you're rich.
Yeah, yeah. I know a lot of people who just like jump into that, especially with forex. It's like, oh, make 1,000 pips in a day and you're set for life.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, that's true.
What
One, do you
about
have the
tomorrow?
account? Exactly. What's the economic landscape tomorrow? What like there's so many factors, but
Yeah,
people just they eat it up. And, um, it's you really do got to be careful when you first start, and you got to find like the people who are actually going to teach you something, and not just try to take your money. So
exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. So we're almost out of time. Do you have any closing thoughts for the audience?
Um, the world and crypto and Web3 and blockchain, all that stuff it's very much in the beginning. Um, always do your research, figure out, don't just, one of the biggest things for me is don't just jump into something because somebody, told you to do it. I feel like that's really easy. And I even find myself trying to hold back from sharing opportunities with my friends who are in it as well, investing money, because it's like, we've been doing it for so long. I'm afraid that they're just going to take my word for it, put some money
Yeah.
into it. And then the next thing you know, it's like, hey, it didn't pan out. That's going to
And
happen.
then
You know
blame
what I mean?
you.
Like, and then blame me. Yeah, exactly. So always do your research. Find some I mean, with the thing with crypto and it being so general, like you're gonna find something, like some project or something that's gonna make more sense to you. I would definitely say find that area for you because that's when it gets easy, right? The research becomes easier, the language becomes easier because you understand what they're trying to solve, the way they're going about it. And the thing is, like, you may look at it and say, like, while this is exactly my area, like, I don't believe in the way you're trying to solve the problem. I've come across those projects and
Yeah.
I'm just like, that's not the approach. Best of luck, but I'm moving on. So there's a place for everybody. So it's hopefully you can find your spot. So yeah.
And opportunities reset daily. If you don't,
Yeah.
if you miss an opportunity, there'll be another one right around the corner. Don't beat yourself
Yep.
up and don't FOMO. Like
Exactly.
definitely don't FOMO because if you're not early, you're late, you know.
Hmm.
And
Yeah,
well,
that's a really good point. One of the biggest things for me was I always way back in the day, one of my first experience trading was like penny stocks,
yeah,
and that was a good time in my life where I was just throwing a lot of money away. But it's like I had exactly what you said, right? Like I didn't understand that the opportunities, the landscape always changes. Opportunities will always come up. That's one of the best things about being human. We love making sure that we can make money. So you're always gonna be able to find something and get in at the right time. You just gotta make sure that your eyes are open. Don't sleep. So
yeah, that's it. I want to thank you for coming on. I really enjoyed it. Um,
yeah, absolutely. Me too.
Pleasure's all mine. Uh, if you guys like the video, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.